Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Sunday, November 26th. Today is day 51 since October 7th. Today I preached at our church partner. Churches for Middle East Peace has a church partner in Rock Spring Congregational Church in Virginia on the topic of the weary world rejoices. And as we prepare our hearts for Advent and celebrating the coming of Christ, our hearts and minds continue to turn toward Gaza as we seek an end to violence against all civilians, as we seek that the ceasefire that currently exists would be lasting, as we seek long-term systemic resolution to an end to the occupation, the blockade of Gaza, and the systemic core issues of the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. I wanted to just give you a quick update. Today is the third day of the ceasefire and the exchange of hostages, the agreement between Hamas and Israel. Yesterday was day 2. There was a delay, and for a while it looked like they wasn't sure if it was going to go through. Hamas said that Israel was in violation because of concerns about not fulfilling the obligations as it related to humanitarian assistance. Qatari representatives arrived in Tel Aviv in Israel to ensure that the deal went through, and it wasn't until midnight or late in the night, Middle Eastern time, where hostages were actually released. The total number of hostages was 17, and then 39 Palestinian prisoners were freed from Israeli jails. In the United States, in Vermont, last night, Saturday night, 3 Palestinian students were shot and wounded on their way to a family dinner. They were wearing keffiyehs. This prompted the Palestinian Foreign Ministry to call for the arrest, investigation, accountability, and then a publication of the investigation results. And the head of the Palestinian mission in the UK, who was formerly the head of the US mission, Ambassador Hussam Zomlat, said that each of the victims were wearing the Palestinian keffiyeh when they were attacked. And there's significant concern about anti-Muslim violence, about increased incidents of anti-Palestinian hatred, and similarly anti-Semitic acts of violence in the United States as well. Today is day 3, where Israel just recently actually confirmed 17 hostages having been released by Hamas. This includes 13 Israeli hostages and 4 internationals. President Biden announced that the 4-year-old American girl was released by Hamas today. And it's also been announced that Palestinians are just now being released from Israeli prisons. The amount is said to be 39 again today as well. Hamas also reported that 4 of its commanders in the Gaza Strip have been killed. Hamas did announce today that they are hoping or seeking to extend the truce beyond the initial 4-day period, which I believe is set to scheduled to end tomorrow. Today is day 3. Tomorrow would be day 4. But the Israeli Defense Forces are saying a truce is unlikely to go much beyond Tuesday. You may recall the initial deal said Netanyahu communicated it could go up to 10 days, that for every day an additional 10 hostages might be released, that there would be an extra day of the cessation of fighting for up to 10 days. We are hearing that there is increased aid, that seems to be getting into Gaza, and I will report more on that tomorrow in Monday's update. I did want to spend just a few minutes talking about the theme of a weary world rejoices. I wanted to read to you verses from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11. These are the verses where Jesus says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And I thought I would read this passage from the Message. That's the translation by Eugene Peterson. This is an invitation to us today. So Eugene Peterson translates this Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 to 30, and the words of Jesus. Are you tired? Are you worn out? Are you burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you will recover your life. I will show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. And as I think about a weary world rejoicing, I think about the prayers throughout the scriptures and even the prayers we have been praying these 50 plus days and the prayers of people in Gaza. This is from Psalm 13 that says, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long will I wrestle with my thoughts that day after day I carry sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me?" And yet, as we continue to read in the scriptures, Galatians 6:9 says, "We must not weary of doing good, but that in due season we will reap if we do not give up." And so might that be an encouragement today, that we do not give up doing good, that we do not grow weary of doing good, that we acknowledge our weariness before God. And Jesus says, "Come to him in our weariness." But my prayer for us is that we might be like the persistent widow who we read about in Luke chapter 18, verse 3, where there was a widow in that town who kept coming to an unjust judge. And she had this plea, and she said, "Grant me justice against my adversary." And she goes before him, and she keeps going before him again and again and again and again. And that is what we seek to do right now in the middle of this violence, in the middle of what has been 50 days of a bombing campaign on Gaza, violence against civilians, the horrific attacks of Hamas on October 7th. We must condemn all violence against civilians, but we want to call on the American government and all of the powers in the world to bring an end to this war. And so join us tomorrow. We will have community calls with Congress. Wednesday, we will have our prayer time. Thursday, we'll do our briefing. And, as Advent approaches, we are calling on members of Congress daily to say, bring an end to this war. May this ceasefire last. And so we invite you to join us like the persistent widow, and we're going to just continue to say, bring an end to this war. And so I want to close with the words of one of my favorite Christmas carols, "O Holy Night," that says, "O holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, and the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn." I've sung that song time and time again, but this year, maybe more than ever in my whole life, the weary world rejoices. My prayer and hope is, may it be so. Long lay the world, that the world is longing and seeking and groaning and working and toiling, that in our weakness, our sin, and our errors, that we're pining for a new way, that we are pining for God's kingdom to come, that one day the world will be made right, and that peace will reign and justice will triumph. And so as we're weary in so many ways, as we're waiting for peace to last and to be steadfast, might we go to God with our weariness? Might we give Jesus our burdens? Might we cry out to God, asking for his relief and an end to the violence, that he might bring peace to this ongoing conflict? And might we seek justice like the persistent widow, that the United States government would support and even demand a ceasefire, and that injustice would be overcome, and that peace would reign on the earth. That is my hope and my prayer, and I'm grateful that we are pursuing that together.